Now, welcome again. This is question 2, Principles of Management, ATD Level 2. And it's an April 2022 paper. So, question 2, discuss 5 internal forces that might trigger change in an organization. Discuss 5 internal forces that might trigger change in an organization. Internal forces that might trigger change in an organization. Now, we need to know there is always what we call an internal environment and external environment. There is internal and external. So, internal environment is what is within the boundaries of that organization. It's found within the boundaries of the organization. When you talk about the inside, the internal organization, but external, anything that is outside the boundaries of the organization or business per se. So, what are these 5 internal forces? Maybe I'll just start by discussing some of the, in an organization we have the internal environment, and we have the external environment. External environment, we have the immediate external, and we have the remote external. So the immediate external, we are talking about forces that basically you really don't have full control on them, but you can influence. You don't have full control because they are outside the organization. You don't have full control on them, but you can influence. The management basically doesn't have full control on them, but it can influence those forces to a greater extent. We are talking about customers, we are talking about suppliers. The management doesn't have full control over them, but at least it can influence them in some way, like prompt payment, advertising. We are talking about competitors, we are talking about trade unions, we are talking about the media. These are outside forces. And then remote external, basically the pestle will come in. Pestle are political factors. There's nothing you can do about them. You don't have control completely. Economic factors like inflation, socio-cultural factors, technological factors, ecological factors, and legal factors. But this is not the subject of the day. This is not what we are discussing. These are outside the environment. Now, when we talk about the inside, the internal environment is what is within the organization, and the management has full control over them. The best model I can use to discuss the inside of an organization is the McKinsey 7S strategy, where we have the structure of the organization, we have the strategy, we have the systems, there are the 7 S's. We have the shared values, we have the staff, we have the skills, and we have the style. So these are the 7 S's, and they basically describe the inside of an organization. So when I get a question like this, discuss 5 internal forces that might trigger change in an organization. Because of the word internal forces, and these are model that best explains the inside of an organization, I'll go with this. So what are these internal forces that might trigger change in an organization? Change in structure. And what are some of the reasons why you might change the structure of an organization? Structure is about the job designs, the job responsibilities, accountabilities, allocation of resources. So these are just some of the, allocation of resources. We talk about the report to kind of a structure, the communication. Basically, when we talk about structure, what should come into mind is the structure of an organization. And this structure basically explains the roles and the powers that these individuals occupy in that organization, what they are supposed to do, who they are supposed to report to. So whenever there's change in structure, which can be necessitated by changing the duties or even resources. Resources are now fewer. You know, those are some of the triggers that can cause about changes in an organization. So I will say change in structure, and I will possibly mention something about resource availability. We'll talk about job responsibilities. I'll talk about the report to accountability kind of a structure. Those are some of the things that can trigger change in an organization. And change is basically, it can be a transformation, it can be, some development, it can be a transition, so that we adapt the new ways of doing things as opposed to the old ways of doing things. Then we have the strategy. Strategy is about, has everything to do with the direction. It has everything to do with the vision. It has everything to do with the mission of the organization. It has everything to do with the goals, everything to do with the objectives. Now, if there's a change in the vision, mission, goals, objective of the organization, then chances are very high that we are going to have a change in the organization. So the internal forces here, we are talking about the change in strategy. And strategy is an internal thing. It happens in the organization. Strategy is an internal thing. Nobody will come from outside to come and formulate strategies for you in an organization. You only consider them when you are formulating strategy, but a strategy is an internal thing. So it's one of the internal forces, especially when we change on our anything to do with what we want to accomplish. That will have an effect of triggering change in the entire organization. Systems is about the processes. Are there any changes in the processes? Do we want to improve our processes, like have a lean system, the Kaizen system, the Sigma system? Are there any processes? Do we want to interfere with procedures because of one or two things that have happened? If there are any system changes, because system, we are basically talking about the processes, how you do your stuff. If there are any changes in how you do your stuff, because of one or two things, there might be the reasons why we have those changes in the processes. Maybe there's low satisfaction, maybe there's low productivity, maybe there are conflicts, people are not just agreeing, and so it necessitates the change of the processes. Then that will trigger change in an organization. Then we also have shared values, change in culture. Shared values is the culture, the value system of the organization, the norms, the beliefs, just the way you carry yourself. If there's any change on the way you carry yourself, that could also trigger change in an organization. So change in norms, change in beliefs, change in cultures, change in and of course this can be brought about by changing leadership. Leadership can be a very important trigger in all these. When we change leadership in an organization, then our values might change, depends. Systems might change, the way we handle our processes. The strategies might change. The structure of the organization might change because leadership comes in with a new blood, the way of doing things. And the staff might also change. And the staff can also be a source of changes, especially if the staff are maybe demotivated or they are motivated, or those can be a trigger to change. If they are less skilled, the skills come here. The skills can be a trigger change. Staff who are more skilled tend to be innovative and creative and innovative at that, to tend to be creative and innovative. And you can imagine a creative and innovative workforce, what they do to an organization. They come up with new ideas, and these new ideas help propel the organization to another level. That's what we mean by change: transition, transformation, development, So I think I'm getting so many points here that I might even be confusing you, but I'm getting a lot of points on internal forces that might trigger change in an organization. So we are talking about basically look at all this. And just to summarize what I've said, we might be talking about internal forces here. We might be talking about the resource allocation, the responsibilities, change in responsibilities and accountability, the staff morale and motivation, staff morale. This can also come as an internal force that might trigger change in an organization if they are motivated or if they are not motivated. New ways of doing things, Here we are talking about now the systems or the processes. We also have the staff skill set. Yeah, it's an internal force that might trigger change because of creativity and innovation, which might bring in new ideas. The culture of the organization. Might be a force that might trigger change either negatively or positively. For example, if the culture here is, I might even use the same culture, the same that we've already talked about, the creativity and innovation, that is a fire for change. Yeah, we are talking about change in leadership, and 5 internal forces that might trigger change in management. Change in management might trigger change in the organization. Basically, adoption of new management or new leadership. It might trigger change in the organization. We are talking about new mission. All these might trigger change in the organization. I've chosen to go the model way because a model opens up your mind. So be free. Thank you. That will give you 10 marks. I think we've exhausted that. Describe 5 challenges that might arise from an increased number of aging workforce in an organization. 5 challenges that might arise from an increased number of aging workforce in an organization. Now, aging workforce, these are people who have gone, they are almost close to their retirement age. Challenges that might arise. Number 1, succession challenges. These people are almost going home. So who will pick up from them once they go home? That's a key, very important aspect in any organization's continuity. So succession challenges will come in. Of course, absenteeism challenges will come in. Why? These people now are old. Of course, it comes in with their health issues. They come in. Chances are very high. They are almost tired, so they will want to absentee themselves. Health issues, and these health issues might be costly. So again, it comes in without saying that this might be one of the key challenges in any organization. Then we also talk of sometimes age discrimination, especially by these young people who are the upcoming young people in an organization. They might want to discriminate against the old, and they talk of those old people, and at the end of the day, it might not be so good in our workplace. It might be a breeding ground for stress and such like the depression and the stuff. If young people kind of segregate you and don't want to be associated with you because you are old, it happens sometimes. Then there's this common challenge of resistance to change, resistance to changes. Very common with these old people, especially new technologies, and they will want to stick to what they know. So most likely, the older generation will tend to resist challenges, and of course, that is a challenge to the organization. And the other challenge is that most of these guys, the older group, their salaries are so high. So we talk of high wage rates, high salaries. So rather we can talk of high salaries. Why? Because they have stayed there for quite a long period of time, 40, 30, 20 years, and every year, you know, there's an increment. So you find that their wage levels are basically so high, and that becomes a challenge to the organization. And of course, performance issues, their productivity levels is expected to decrease. Performance issues. Sometimes it increases because of the experience they have gained over time, and you know, they are used hands-on. But of course, age catches up with them. So you expect some performance issues here and there. They might not be as energetic as they were when they were young. And sometimes there's some bit of reluctance to train the young upcoming ones, to train the young upcoming, leaders or workers. So that can also come in as a strain to the organization, because these people are generally supposed to train the young people so that the transition can be smooth. And we might also talk about the need for flexible working hours. The need for flexible working hours. As you go, as age catches up with you, you might find out that it might not be possible to work all the hours, the regular time, because there are also added responsibilities for this person because he's preparing to go out. So you might need some flexible working hours. It depends with the organization. Some organizations are very comfortable with that. Other organizations may not be comfortable with flexible working hours. So thank you. Those are so many points. You only need 5. So just pick any 5 from there. Let's meet in the next question.